Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a powerful question. Why is it that in a world with billions of people, only a small fraction, just 2%, achieve true success, while the remaining 98% struggle, settle, or simply give up? It's not a matter of intelligence. It's not about luck. It's not even about talent. The answer lies in discipline, mindset, habits, and choices made consistently, not occasionally. The world doesn't owe us success. It rewards those who earn it daily through discomfort, sacrifice, and focus. Let's understand this deeper. The top 2% don't live like everyone else. They think differently, act intentionally, and train relentlessly. They wake up with purpose while others sleep in. They work on dreams while others scroll, complain, or procrastinate. Success isn't owned, it's rented. And the rent is due every single day. The 98% often give in to comfort. They wait for motivation. They avoid risk. They fear failure. But those at the top, they see failure as feedback. They use fuel as fuel. They build habits that outlast feelings. Success is not accidental. It's designed. It's earned through uncomfortable choices, day after day, month after month, year after year. So if you want to break out of the 98%, you must reject mediocrity, rise with courage, and choose growth over comfort every single. One of the most fundamental traits that separates the 2% who succeed from the 98% who don't is the presence of a crystal clear vision. A clear vision is more than just a goal. It's a deep, unshakable sense of purpose, a mental blueprint of what the future should look like. It is specific, it is vivid, and it acts as a powerful internal compass, guiding decisions, focus, and energy. Successful people wake up each day with clarity. They know exactly what they are working towards. They don't wander through life reacting to circumstances. They design their life, and every action they take is aligned with that vision. Whether it's financial freedom, building a business, becoming a world-class athlete, or creating impact in a community, their destination is defined. That clarity gives them power. In contrast, the 98% often live without direction. They might have dreams, but their dreams are vague, undeveloped, or constantly shifting. They say they want success, but when asked what success means to them, the answers are broad, shallow, or contradictory. Some say they want freedom, but spend years trapped in jobs they hate. Others say they want greatness, but avoid discipline and hard work. There's a gap between their wants and their actions, because there's no real vision anchoring them. A person without vision gets easily distracted. Every opportunity seems appealing. Every failure feels defeating. Every obstacle looks like a sign to quit. Why? Because when the destination is unclear, the journey has no meaning. Confusion becomes normal. And in that confusion, people make short-term choices that sabotage their long-term potential. But a clear vision changes everything. It creates urgency without panic, hunger without greed, ambition without chaos. It makes sacrifice worthy. It turns ordinary habits into sacred rituals. It gives meaning to the pain, structure to the process, and light to the darkest seasons. Even when things go wrong, and they will, the person with vision stays focused, recalibrates, and keeps. Vision is the internal fire that burns through doubt and delay. It's the reason some keep moving forward while others give up and look. Discipline is the dividing line between those who merely wish for success and those who work for it. Consistently, relentlessly, even when it hurts. The top 2% live with a level of discipline that most people aren't willing to maintain. They don't rely on how they feel to determine what they do. Instead, they are driven by commitment, by a deep understanding that success doesn't come to the most inspired. It comes to the most consistent. While others make decisions based on mood, pressure, or convenience, the disciplined person makes decisions based on principles and purpose. Discipline is waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It's training when your muscles ache. It's working when your emotions scream arrest. It's doing what needs to be done, even when the excitement is gone and no one is watching. And here's the truth. The successful don't always feel motivated, but they've built systems, routines, and standards that keep them moving forward. They treat discipline like oxygen, non-negotiable, essential, and life-giving. In contrast, the 98% operate based on emotional decision-making. They do things only when they feel like it. If they feel tired, they skip the workout. If they feel discouraged, they stop pursuing the goal. If they feel bored, they change direction. They let their temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. But emotions are inconsistent. They're influenced by weather, sleep, stress, fear, and countless other things. That's why relying on them is a recipe for mediocrity. Emotional decision-making leads to missed deadlines, broken promises, wasted time, and shattered confidence. People begin to doubt themselves not because they lack potential, but because they've made a habit of quitting when it gets hard. Discipline, on the other hand, builds trust with yourself. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're telling your mind, I can count on me. That self-trust becomes your armor. It makes you unstoppable. The most successful people treat discipline like a daily battle, and they win it not by force but by routine. They don't wait for the right time. They create the time. They don't search for motivation. They create structure. They don't let the mind take control. They train it like a warrior. Discipline is doing the right thing even when no one will know. It's refusing to negotiate with laziness. It's the silent strength behind every achievement, the invisible thread that weaves consistency, character, and courage into results. The path to real success is not a sprint. It's a long, demanding marathon, and only those who learn to focus on the long term ever reach the finish line. The top 2% have mastered the rare ability to delay gratification. They have trained their minds to ignore short-term temptations in pursuit of long-term victories. In a world addicted to speed, they've chosen patience. In a world obsessed with the now, they've fallen in love with the later. They understand a deep truth. Anything truly worthwhile takes time. Building a strong body takes months of disciplined training. Building a business takes years of persistence. Building a legacy takes decades of consistency. And yet, most people want everything overnight. They want to plant the seed today and harvest the fruit tomorrow. But that's not how success works. The 98% often fail because they fall into the trap of instant gratification. They want quick results, fast rewards, immediate pleasure. If something takes too long, they quit. If results don't come quickly, they complain. If it requires patience, they avoid it altogether. They jump from one goal to another, chasing shortcuts and losing momentum every time. This mindset destroys growth. It leads to frustration, inconsistency, and shallow progress. When gratification becomes the goal, discipline collapses. And when discipline collapses, dreams fade. But the 2% think differently. They look years ahead. They are willing to do the work today without seeing results for a long time because they believe in the harvest. They plant seeds daily, water them with effort, and protect them with faith. They don't need immediate applause. They don't chase quick dopamine hits. Their joy comes from the process, not the prize. This mindset gives them power. It makes them calm under pressure. While others panic at slow progress, stay steady. While others chase trends, they stay true to their plan. Long-term focus becomes their superpower because it brings clarity, patience, and depth to everything they do. They train themselves to resist urges, to say no to that distraction, to avoid that shortcut, to ignore the noise. Because they know, if you constantly choose what feels good now, you'll never get what you truly want later. Whether it's financial freedom, world-class skill, personal mastery, or deep relationships, none of it comes quick. And the 2% are willing to endure the slow, sometimes invisible, grind because they're playing the long game. They don't just chase success. They build it brick by brick, decision by decision, day after day. They understand that overnight success is a myth. Behind every sudden victory is a trail of silent, disciplined days no one saw, but every champion lived through. And that's where the real power of long-term focus lies, in doing what matters most, especially when it doesn't seem to matter yet. One of the most defining differences between the 2% who rise and the 98% who stay stuck is this: the mindset of ownership versus the mindset of blame. The 2% who succeed take complete, unapologetic responsibility for their lives. They understand that while they may not control everything that happens to them, they do control how they respond. They don't wait to be rescued. They don't rely on circumstances to change before they move. Instead, they look in the mirror and say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. This ownership mindset is not about arrogance. It's about empowerment. It's about saying, I am not a product of my environment. I am a product of my decisions. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter how unfair life has been, I still have the power to choose my next move. People with this mindset don't make excuses. They don't spend energy blaming their parents, the economy, their boss, the government, or the past. They might have gone through trauma. They may have been rejected, betrayed, or underestimated. But instead of using it as a reason to stop, they use it as fuel to rise. They learn from failure instead of running from it. They see mistakes as lessons, not labels. They take action instead of waiting for perfect conditions. They ask better questions. What can I do, or what's my next best step? How can I grow from this? On the other side of this mindset is a victim mentality. And this is where the majority of people live. This mindset convinces people that life is unfair to them, that things are always harder for them, and that the reason they're not succeeding is because someone else is in the way. Victim thinking is subtle and seductive. It feels good in the moment because it removes pressure and shifts blame. It's not my fault. They didn't support me. Our life just isn't fair. These statements may feel comforting, but over time they become chains that keep people stuck in cycles of mediocrity. Victims don't change their lives, they wait for life. And because that never happens, they repeat the same stories, the same habits, the same struggles, year after year. But ownership is freedom. When you take responsibility, you no longer wait, you create. You're no longer trapped by your past, you're powered by your choices. You don't see yourself as someone the world acted upon. You see yourself as someone who acts upon the world. This shift in mindset is the foundation of all transformation. You can have the best education, the most powerful connections, and unlimited resources. But if you carry a victim mentality, you'll sabotage all of it, because victims are always at the mercy of something external. Owners, on the other hand, write their own story. Owning your life doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It means you'll never let struggle define you. It means you take command of your mindset, your energy, your habits, and your future. And that's why the top 2% live with a sense of personal power, not because life is easier for them, but because they've taken full responsibility for how they live it. If there is one invisible force that quietly separates the successful from the stagnant, it is the power of daily habits. The 2% who succeed don't rely on bursts of effort or waves of motivation. They build systems. They understand that success is not about what you do once in a while. It's about what you do every single day, especially when no one's watching. Greatness is not born in big moments. It's built in the small ones. Early mornings, quiet evenings, the spaces in between distractions where choices are made and character is formed. The top 2% live by habits that are intentional, repeatable, and aligned with their goals. Whether it's waking up early, reading daily, practicing their craft, exercising their body, managing their time, or reflecting on their progress, they have structured their lives so that excellence is the default, not the exception. And what makes habits powerful is that they compound over time. A single push-up means nothing. A single hour of focus doesn't transform your career. but repeated daily over months and years, that becomes a strong body, that becomes a thriving business, that becomes a sharp, resilient mind, that becomes success, quietly built moment by moment. In contrast, the 98% rely on occasional efforts. They go hard for a few days, then disappear. They set goals on Monday and forget them by Thursday. They chase inspiration, but don't build discipline. Their progress is full of spikes and crashes, intense energy followed by long periods of inaction. They work when they feel good and stop when it gets boring or hard. But success does not reward intensity without consistency. It rewards rhythm. It rewards repetition. It rewards those who show up even when it's no longer exciting. The difference between a habit and an effort is that habits become who you are, while efforts are just things you occasionally do. Habits become identity. I am someone who trains daily. I am someone who reads every morning. I am someone who manages my time and energy with intention. That identity creates automatic action. You no longer have to decide every day, you just do it. Meanwhile, occasional effort leads to frustration. Why? Because it feels like you're working hard, but you're no momentum. You're starting from zero again and again. That stop-start pattern kills motivation and erodes self-trust. The 2% protect their habits like treasures. They organize their life around them. They understand that winning the morning means winning the day, and winning the day means winning the week, and over time winning life. It's not glamorous. Oh, most of the work is invisible. No applause, no cameras, just quiet, relentless consistency. They build rituals that support their goals and they don't break them. Not for mood, not for excuses, not for laziness. And that's where the magic happens. Not in one massive effort, but in small, disciplined actions, repeated so often they become a part of you. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you do once that shapes your future, it's what you do daily that defines your destiny. One of the deepest dividing lines between those who rise and those who remain stuck is their relationship with failure. The top 2% develop the courage to fail, while the remaining 98% are paralyzed by the fear of failure. The 2% understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's the path to it. They know that every breakthrough is built on a foundation of breakdowns. Every champion has been beaten, rejected, embarrassed, and doubted. But what makes them different is how they responded. They didn't retreat. They didn't give up. They didn't take failure personally. They took it educationally. To them, failure is feedback. It's a teacher in disguise. It shows them what needs to improve, what strategy isn't working, where their weaknesses lie, and most importantly, it reveals where growth must happen. Because real progress isn't linear. It's messy. It's filled with detours, dead ends, and painful lessons. And those with courage embrace that. They don't expect perfection. They expect resistance, and they're willing to face it again and again. Fear of failure, on the other hand, is one of the most silent and dangerous killers of dreams. It whispers in your ear, what if you mess up? What will people say? You're not good enough. Stay safe. And most people listen to that voice. They choose comfort over courage. They avoid trying because trying means risk. And risk means they might fall. They might look stupid. They might disappoint others or themselves. So instead of taking the leap, they stay on the ground, watching others fly and wondering why they feel stuck. But what they don't realize is that fear of failure is more damaging than failure itself. Failure hurts for a moment. Fear lasts for years. You can recover from falling. But what about the dreams you never chased? The book you never wrote? The business you never started? The skill you never built? The life you never lived? Those who succeed see fear and still move forward. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the face of it. They get scared too, but they don't let fear decide for them. They do it scared because their mission is greater than their insecurity. Their vision is louder than their doubt. They accept that failing is part of the price they must pay. They don't just fail occasionally, they fail often. But every failure brings them one step closer to clarity, to wisdom, to strength. With every setback, they sharpen their strategy and strengthen their mindset. And slowly, something powerful happens. What once terrified them becomes routine. What once seemed impossible becomes familiar. They become immune to fear, not because fear disappears, but because courage becomes stronger. While the 98% avoid failure and stay safe, the 2% use failure as fuel. They keep showing up, keep trying, keep learning, keep adapting. They may fall 10 times, but they get up 11. And with each rise, they grow stronger than before. In a world where information is everywhere, one of the clearest differences between the top 2% and the remaining 98% lies in how they consume content. The successful choose self-education, intentional, purposeful learning that elevates their thinking, sharpens their skills, and feeds their vision. The majority, however, fall into the trap of entertainment addiction, mindless consumption of noise that feels good but leads nowhere. The 2% have a hunger to grow. They read books that stretch their thinking. They watch videos that challenge their comfort zones. They listen to podcasts, study mentors, attend workshops, and constantly seek wisdom over amusement. They don't scroll for pleasure, they scroll for progress. Their phone is not a toy, but a tool for growth. They understand that self-education is the one investment that never fails. Unlike money, it can't be stolen. Unlike possessions, it never breaks. Knowledge compounds. It builds on itself. One idea, one book, one conversation can ignite a revolution inside the mind. If you're paying attention, these individuals don't wait for school or permission to learn. They are their own teachers. Their curiosity drives them. They ask better questions. They seek deeper answers. And slowly, they build a mind that's prepared to solve problems, see patterns, and create opportunity. They outlearn the competition, not because they're smarter, but because they are more committed to learning. Now compare that to the 98% who have replaced growth with distraction. Hours of TV, endless social media scrolling, meaningless gossip, mind-numbing games, each moment feels harmless, but over time it becomes a habit, a prison of passivity. They consume content designed to steal attention, not build intelligence. The tragedy is, most people don't realize how much time they're wasting. They say they don't have time to read, study, or plan, but they have hours for entertainment. Time that could be used to learn a skill, start a business, read a book, master a craft, or develop their mind is spent chasing laughs, drama, and digital noise. Entertainment addiction feels safe. It doesn't ask for effort. It doesn't challenge you. It's easy. It feels good. But that ease is deceptive, because while the body is relaxed, the mind is shrinking. It's becoming dull, passive, reactive. And over time, that dullness shows up everywhere. Poor decisions, low discipline, weak communication, shallow thinking. The 2% have trained themselves to say no. They treat their attention like sacred ground. They guard it. They filter what enters their mind. They schedule learning like others schedule television. They don't just consume, they retain, reflect, and apply what they learn. Knowledge becomes action. Action becomes results. This doesn't mean they never relax, but their default mode is learning. Their curiosity is alive. They read when others scroll. They study when others sleep. They upgrade their mind daily, and over time, those small acts of self-education create massive separation between them and everyone else. Because success doesn't just depend on what you do. It depends on how you think, and how you think is shaped by what you feed your mind. One of the greatest illusions in today's world is the belief that being busy is the same as being productive. But there is a massive difference between movement and progress. The top 2% operate from purpose-driven action. Every step they take is tied to a deeper mission, a long-term vision, and a clearly defined outcome. Meanwhile, the 98% often fall into the trap of random busyness, working hard, staying occupied, but rarely moving forward in any meaningful way. Purpose-driven people don't wake up and to see what happens. They begin each day with clarity. They know exactly what they need to do, why it matters, and how it contributes to their greater goals. They operate like architects, not like firefighters. Their time is structured, their focus is protected, and their energy is managed with precision. They don't chase tasks, they prioritize impact. They identify the few actions that create the biggest results, and they do those things consistently even when they're not urgent. They understand that saying yes to everything is actually saying no to their own vision. So they cut distractions, they delegate the small, they eliminate the unnecessary, and they pour their time and effort into what truly moves the needle. This is what separates execute from activity. Purpose-driven action is deliberate, it's aligned, it's measurable, it's focused on results, not just effort. Contrast that with the 98% who live in a constant state of reaction. Their day is dictated by notifications, interruptions, emails, and noise. They confuse being busy with being important. Their to-do list is full, but their life feels empty. They're always rushing, but rarely arriving. They work hard, but without direction. And without direction, effort becomes scattered, exhausting, and eventually discouraging. Random busyness feels productive in the short term. It gives the illusion of progress. But over time, it leads to burnout, stagnation, and regret. Because no matter how fast you run, if you're on the wrong path, you're just getting lost fast. Purpose-driven individuals, on the other hand, slow down to think. They review their goals. They track their progress. They ask themselves powerful questions. Is this action serving my purpose? Does this task bring me closer to my dream? Or is it just keeping me busy? Am I building something that lasts or just filling time? They understand that real power comes from focused action, not scattered effort. They spend 20 minutes planning if it saves 2 hours of waste. They invest time reflecting so they don't repeat the same mistakes. Their schedule is a weapon, not a burden, and this mindset becomes their advantage. Over weeks, months, and years, the small, intentional, purpose-aligned actions compound into massive progress. While others are spinning in circles, chasing every shiny object or urgent distraction, the 2% are moving steadily, quietly, but effectively toward a life they've designed with purpose, not default, because they don't just want to be busy. They want to be effective. They don't just want activity. They want advancement. They don't just fill time. They build legacy, one focused action at a time. Success is never a solo journey. Behind every truly successful person is a network of guidance, support, and accountability. The top 2% understand the power of mentorship and accountability, while the remaining 98% often fall into the trap of the lone wolf mentality, trying to figure it all out alone, avoiding feedback and refusing to be vulnerable. The high achievers seek out those who have walked the path before them. They don't pretend to have all the answers. They actively search for people who do. They invest in coaches, read biographies, study great minds, and surround themselves with individuals who challenge them to rise higher. They understand that wisdom is not just earned through personal experience, it can be borrowed through mentorship. A mentor collapses time. What took someone 10 years to learn, a mentor can teach in 10 minutes. They help you see your blind spots, avoid costly mistakes, sharpen your thinking, and stretch your mindset. They hold a mirror up to your weaknesses while reminding you of your strength. A mentor doesn't just tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to hear. The 2% don't stop at mentorship. They embrace accountability. They invite honest feedback. They welcome someone who will call them out when they slack, drift, or lower their standards. Accountability doesn't feel comfortable, but it is necessary. It's the invisible force that keeps discipline alive when motivation fades. They understand that personal growth cannot thrive in isolation. Iron sharpens iron. Greatness is rarely forged alone, it's forged through relationship, refinement, and responsibility. In contrast, the 98% often reject this idea. They choose independence over guidance. They wear isolation as a badge of honor, believing that asking for help is weakness or that relying on others means they're not strong enough. But what they don't realize is that success is not about doing it alone. It's about doing it intentionally with the right people beside you. The lone wolf mentality may feel empowering in the beginning, but over time it becomes exhausting. Without mentors, there is trial without teaching. Without accountability, there is drift without correction. Progress stalls, clarity fades, confidence erodes, and worst of all, growth becomes optional instead of essential. Even the most disciplined minds need a second set of eyes. Even the strongest hearts need encouragement. Even the most committed visionaries need someone to say, don't quit. You're built for this. The top 2% build a circle of excellence. They are intentional about who they allow into their inner world. They avoid toxic voices and negative influences, and instead cultivate a tribe that pushes them, sharpens them, and believes in the version of them that's still becoming. They understand that who walks with you matters just as much as where you're going. Because proximity is power, and who you learn from determines how far you. So now the truth stands in front of you, clear, undeniable, and demanding. Success doesn't come down to luck, background, or natural talent. It comes down to choices, daily, consistent, courageous choices. The 2% don't have superpowers. They simply do what the 98% won't. They think long-term. They master their habits. They take responsibility. They keep learning. They take action with purpose. They rise after every fall, and most importantly, they stay committed when others walk away. You are not limited by your circumstance. You are only limited by the standards you accept and the mindset you choose. So ask yourself, are you going to live with regret? Or are you going to rise with discipline, focus, and fire? The line between average and extraordinary is drawn every day by decisions, not desires. It's not crowded at the top, because most people never decide to climb. Now is your moment. Step out of the 98% and start building the life only the 2% will ever experience.